Hey, it's me, MLB. Here's chapter 73 of Chance Ball, and this one is titled Eventful Day. Things were going well for the Blue Flames team, and they were well in the lead. All the kids were transfixed by the ball flying back and forth across the net, and Kyo and Goro were really getting into it. Yeah! They both screamed when the ball slammed down on the opposite side of the net, giving the points to the Blue Flames. Then the opposing side retaliated in the next rally, but Dabi jumped and blocked it, causing another round of excited screaming from your group of now 2.5-year-olds and 3-year-olds. Suddenly the whistle blew and the umpire indicated that Dabi had touched the net, and so it was a point to the other side. No! Koemi yelled at the top of her lungs, understanding the volleyball signals. Daddy didn't touch it! Okay, sweetheart, calm down. It's the umpire's call, you said in a low voice, trying to calm her down. No, Mummy! He didn't touch it! He didn't touch it! Sweetheart, hush, please, don't yell so loud. Daddy didn't touch the net! I saw it! She up and screamed at the umpire, who was now looking over at his pint-sized opponent. Shh, you hushed her. She's right. Kyo suddenly backed your girl and pointed at her. He didn't touch it. It was the other guy. He then pointed to the opponent who had tried to spike the ball. His fingers did like this. He then demonstrated how during the jump the spiker's hand had touched the net. Two officials walked over to you, intending to tell you off for letting the kids be so loud, but the fact that they were being so insistent had you wondering if maybe they had really seen what had happened. Can we get a second opinion? You asked the men as they approached you. The children don't get a say in the match, one guy scoffed, as if to say, do you really think we'd listen to a bunch of 2-year-olds? I think they did see what happened, you said again. Listen, the other guy said sharply. We'll have you and the children removed, if they're not quiet. Just then a lady called from 2 rows back. Sir, I have the play here on my recorder. Everyone stopped and looked at her. Daddy didn't touch it, Koemi said again emphatically, with the thickest scowl on her face. May I see that, ma'am? One of the officials asked as he stepped over the barrier near the kids and walked over to her. She nodded and showed it to him, replaying the moment on her camcorder. Because of where she had been sitting, she was right smack bang in the middle of the two teams and could clearly see down the net on either side, making it the perfect angle to see who had touched the net. The officials watched it back a few times, then nodded at each other and walked over to the umpire to explain what had happened, making motions with their hands. It was that guy, Kyo called, pointing to the player who he thought had touched the net. You quickly quietened him and the umpire stood up to announce the verdict. He blew his whistle and made a sign and your kids all screamed with excitement. The point was given to Blue Flames. Dabi hadn't touched the net. Daddy didn't do it! I told you! Koemi cried with glee. You were proud as punch of your kids. They had keener eyes than the officials and you shot the officials a smug look, which they did their best to ignore. After the game had been won by the Blue Flames, you took the kids back to the bus to head back to Mr. Totoro's, and not even 10 minutes into the drive they were all asleep. That's one group down, you said softly to the driver. 2 more groups to go. The next 2 should be better. They're a little bit older. The driver nodded and glanced up in the rear view mirror to the kids. They had fun, he said. They all look so peaceful. They'll sleep well knowing they helped the Blue Flames keep a point. You added with a proud grin. These kids are the best. Once back at Mr. Totoro's, you gently got them off one by one. The parents were already there waiting for you, so you helped to ferry the kids to the corresponding cars and clip them into their seats. The twins didn't even stir as you transferred them, and neither did Mio, but Emmy and Koemi woke up and hopped off the bus themselves, so that was helpful. You said goodbye to Emmy and then sat with Koemi for a bit until the next group arrived. Because Dabi was playing volleyball all day, she was going to come with you to the courts again, and she was only too excited to do so. So as soon as your next 5 students turned up, you were off again. Yoshi, as expected, was beyond excited and couldn't sit still the whole ride there. Rin and Miru were also pretty excited, and Harima and Aya insisted on taking a ball each with them to the courts. Because this group were a little older, they understood what was happening, and this time around there were no tears. Once inside, you sat them all down and they waited for the match to begin. Koemi proudly pointed out her dad to the other kids, and he even came over to shake their hands. Poor Yoshi nearly fainted when his favourite player reached out his hand for a handshake. We've been waiting for you to come, Yoshi, Dabi said to him as he shook his little hand. You going to cheer loud for me? Yoshi nodded his head emphatically, unable to speak in the presence of his idol. Once Dabi had let go of Yoshi's hand and left, the elated and still stunned Yoshi turned to you and said, "How did he know my name?" To which you chuckled and replied, "Oh, Dabi knows all the names of the people who support him." This really surprised Yoshi, and his awe for the raven-haired player grew even more. The game went smoothly this time, and your kids cheered loudly every time the Blue Flames won, and then once the team had successfully cleared that round, you took them back to Mr. Totoru's and prepared for the final group. Little Koemi had 3 naps that day, short ones in the van when you ferried the kids back after the match had finished, but overall she held up really well, and when you finally finished for the day and Dabi came to pick you all up, she had fallen asleep once more on the way home. "It's been a huge day for her," you said to Dabi, giving him a kiss on the cheek as you drove home. "It's been a big day for all of us," he said. "Oh, yeah, congratulations on getting to semi-finals. Finals tomorrow?" you added. "We'll cream 'em," he replied with a grin. Everyone was on their A-game, even Koemi, who helped me get that point back. "Yeah, she's going to make a great umpire one day," you said with a smile as you looked back to the back seat at her sleeping form. Her head had lolled to the side and her hair was all messy over her face, and you chuckled to yourself and then looked back to Dabi lovingly and leaned across to give him a kiss while he did his best to stay focused on the road ahead. "We have the perfect life," you said dreamily, placing a hand on his thigh and squeezing it. He hummed thoughtfully, agreeing with you. "Who'd have thought we'd end up here, hey?" "Yeah," you said with a smile. "We should go out to celebrate tomorrow night after your win." "Yeah, we should. And then you and I should celebrate in the bed later," he added with a sly smirk. It never changes for you, does it?" you replied with a playful eye roll. "You just get hotter. Can't help myself," he flirted. "Your flirting will get you nowhere with me," you replied, taking your hand away and feigning airs of indifference. "Well, then I'll just have to take you by force," he replied, reaching across and grabbing a handful of your inner thigh that was far too close up to the side of your leg for your body to ignore it, and it had no choice but to react to his hand by pulsating hard. I wish I could say that it did nothing for me," you sighed as you opened your legs wider for him to grab. "We'll continue this in a second," he said lowly as he pulled into the driveway. "First I just need to transfer this little one." He turned the car off and quietly got out of his side of the car and walked back to her side and gently clicked her door open. Unfortunately, the ride home had been just long enough for her to have a decent nap, and she woke as she was unbuckled from her seat, with you watching on. "Home?" she asked, her eyes wide as she leaned forwards against the seatbelt, staring out the front window. "You're still asleep," Dabi said to her, and she looked at him. "But I feel awake, Daddy," she replied. "Nope, you're asleep. Go back to sleep. Mummy and Daddy need some time alone," he replied, making you giggle at his desperate attempt to make her sleep so that he could jump your bones. But I'm awake. See?" She pointed to her eyes and blinked them at him. "They're moving." "Yep, it's all a dream," he said as he plucked her out of the car seat and flopped her over one shoulder. "Nighty-night, off to bed," he joked. "Daddy!" she wailed, half playing, half not as she struggled to get his attention. "Time for bed," he said, and you hopped out and grabbed the bags before following them inside. "No! Daddy, it's in the daytime. Look, the sun's in the sky." "That's the moon," you heard him reply as he carried her to her room to change her clothes. "No, it's the sun," she replied emphatically. "Why is it the sun?" he asked. "How do you know it's not the moon?" "'Cause I can look at the moon and it doesn't make my eyes sore," she said sternly. "Oh, okay, I see. Good point. Okay, I'll believe you this once, that it's not nighttime," Dabi replied. "Good, Daddy, because I'm not even a bigger bit sleepy," she said, followed by the sounds of her little feet pattering down the stairs as she came down to see where you were. "Oh, hi, Mommy," she said brightly when she saw you in the kitchen. "Oh, hi, sweetheart," you replied in a voice that mimicked hers. "Did you have fun today?" "Mm-hmm," she hummed, running to her bag and crouching down to look in. She rummaged around a little bit and pulled some things out and then looked over at you. "Mummy, where's my Wawa ball?" "Oh, it's in the front zipper part," you said, and she quickly unzipped the front section and beamed with joy when she saw her precious Wawa ball. She picked it up and then hugged it and trotted off back to the lounge to watch some volleyball with Daddy. Unsurprisingly, the next day the Blue Flames team won the annual championships, and so after work you prepared to go out for dinner with the team to celebrate. Koemi was ecstatic when she heard Daddy had won, and you told her that you and her would be going out for dinner to celebrate with him. So as the night time rolled around, you got her and yourself ready while you waited for Dabi to get home, get changed, and then all of you would head back out to the restaurant together. You ready, girls? Dabi called out to you as you put her shoes on in her room. Yep, coming, you called back to him. Okay, let's go, you said to her, taking her little hand in yours and heading out of the bedroom. Wait, I want to bring my Wawa ball, she suddenly announced. No, let's leave Wawa ball at home. No, I want Wawa ball, she stated firmly, tugging on your hand to get you to let go of her so she could run back to her room. We'll leave Wawa ball in the car, okay? You can bring Wawa ball in the car and then leave it in the car, and when we eat, then it will be there when you come for the ride home, you bargained. I want Wawa ball to come inside to eat, she said, pulling her hand free and running back to her bed to get Wawa ball. You guys coming? Dabi called again from downstairs. Yeah, coming, you called in a little bit of an exasperated voice to him, then turned your attention on your girl. Just in the car, baby, you cautioned her. Daddy, she called out. Yeah, baby, he called back. Can I bring Wawa ball to eat? Yeah, baby, he called again, leaving you no leg to stand on as she just asked Daddy and pulled the metaphorical rug right from underneath you. Daddy, you shouted at him. We need to be on the same page here. You rounded the corner and started heading down the stairs. I told her she couldn't bring Wawa ball into the restaurant, just in the car. Well, now what's going to happen? Stay tuned for the next chapter coming tomorrow. I'll see you then.